Greetings and welcome to our annual top 10 list, taking a look at the very best mods released from Morrowind each year. And let me just say, 2018 was an amazing year for the Morrowind community, in more ways than one. For the first time since 2011, the Morrowind community has released over 700 new Morrowind mods in 2018. And that's a pretty massive number when you consider that when we started this YouTube channel back in 2014, there were only about 350 new Morrowind mods released in all of 2014. And even though Morrowind is now 16 years old and going on 17, the Morrowind modding community continues to grow and expand, and this has just been an exceptionally good year for, breaking through barriers, not just in terms of mod releases, but also in terms of what mods can do. Thanks to the MWC Nightly build, whole new gameplay features that were previously impossible to add with a mod are now possible, and we've already seen some pretty amazing new mods come from this, including raiding questing systems, unique shader effects, poison crafting, weapon sheathing, item flavor text, dynamic window glowing, unique regional music systems, and just so much more. If 2017 was the year of Morrowind multiplayer, 2018 is the year of MWC. But of course, there was a lot going on in 2018, not just, related to MWC. The first major content release by Tower Built in years was in 2018 with the release of Old Ebonheart, including some 50 quests. There was also a new release of Skyrim Home of the Nords, including, I think it's some 20 or so quests added to that. And even a new release of Stros Mackay and a bunch of other things. But enough of my blathering, you're here for the top 10 mods, so let's get right down to the numbers. But first, keep in mind, the download links for all these mods are located down in the video description below, along with, timestamp annotations for jumping to each mod, and also mod conflict and compatibility information and all that. Now, let's begin with number 10, Fablewind, an in-development landmass and province mod, first released by Telshadow on August 14th, 2018. And this is a little different from really most of the other mods on this list because, as of right now, Fablewind is still very much incomplete and in development. But I wanted to include it here in our top 10 list because it is, after just a few months of development here, a pretty massive landmass mod with a lot to see and do, and, quite a bit of potential going into the future. But first, let's go over what this mod does, and basically, Fablewind is an attempt to recreate the world of Albion from the Fable games in the game world of Morrowind, as a massive new landmass. And right now, the current and latest release of Fablewind includes the city of Bowerstone from the first Fable game, the town of Bright Lodge from the cancelled Fable Legends game, and the town of Oakfield from Fable 2. There's also a number of other locations, like a Bargate Prison, a Windmill Hill, Gibbet Woods, and so on and so forth. And a lot of this is already playable, with much of the landmass here basically amounting to a sort of exterior dungeon, with, each zone an area you can fight through, facing bandits, the undead, and other nefarious creatures. So even though there's no actual quests here just yet, there's still a fair bit of, content to check out and play through. And one other thing to note here, one of the unique things about Fablewind is that this mod uses currently no modders resources or new assets of any kind. In fact, the entire mod is built out of only vanilla Morrowind assets, but they're used in such a creative and unique way that you'd be forgiven for thinking that, they're entirely new. And this was done deliberately by the mod author, Telshadow, who just wanted to prove that in order to create beautiful and exciting game locations, all you really need is the stuff that comes with the base game. And in any event, all this makes it our number 10 pick for the mod of the year, and it's, definitely a project that's worth keeping an eye on. Moving on, we have number 9 of Ash and Blight, Tel Mora, a town mod first released by Melkor Dark on November 22nd, 2018. And this is the latest mod in the Ash and Blight series by Melkor Dark, a series of mods that aims to expand Morrowind in a lore-friendly fashion, staying true to, the game's original custom mod style and feel. And basically, this is a town expansion and overhaul mod that makes the often neglected city of Tel Mora feel, more like a unique and notable location to visit. Despite the rather interesting lore behind Tel Mora in the base game, like, the fact that only females are allowed to reside in Tel Mora, and the rather eccentric nature the wizard mistress Dratha. The city itself has always been of a fairly typical Telvanni construction, with really little to differentiate it from the other Telvanni tower settlements like Tel Brenora or Tel Run. But with this entry of the Ash and Blight series, that all changes, with a beautiful overhaul of the city here, including 2 new buildings, some breathtaking hanging out chemical gardens, and lots of new landscaping with cliffs, rock faces, bridges, and much more, giving this small Telvanni city a great sense of just verticality. And more than that, this mod also adds about 5 new quests, some new lore to check out, new dialogue, new characters, an optional addition that replaces all the Telvanni gods in the city with female, variants, which oddly enough was overlooked in the base game, and just a bunch of other details here. Now, you also note in some of the background footage here that I'm using the Resident Revival series Lighthouse of Tel Voss mod, which just, works great with the overhaul Tel Mora, and which I'd highly recommend using together. And in any event, this is easily one of the best looking town overhaul expansions to be released this year, and virtually the only one for the city Tel Mora itself. All that makes it our number 9 pick for the best mods of 2018. Next up, we have number 8, Roscrea, a landmass and quest mod first released by Xbarrow on March 13th, 2018. And I'll admit, this is probably one of the stranger mods on this list, at least as far as some of the content here goes, but I have a good reason for including it here, trust me. First and foremost though, Roscrea adds a fairly large new landmass to the game, and some of you may even recognize the name here. After all, Roscrea is a somewhat minor island mentioned in Elder Scrolls lore, located north off the coast of Skyrim. This is actually one of 2 different independent projects to add Roscrea to the Morrowind game engine. The other one is a project that's still under development by Rorik of the Skyrim Home of the Nords team. But anyway, this is without question one of the largest landmass mods to be released in 2018. It's considerably larger than Stros M'Coy, though not quite as massive as Fablewind, but still, while being a smaller mod than the latter, it makes up for that by being a, largely finished mod, with over a dozen quests, 2 complete towns, plus various other locations, numerous dungeons, floating ice fortresses, glacial cliffs and plains, thick and snowy forests, and a harsh and just treacherous coastline. This is one of the main reasons I wanted to include it in our top 10 list here, for it's arguably one of the largest content mods we released in 2018, with a ton to see and do, though I must apologize for the video footage here. The visibility on Roscrea isn't great, snowstorms are rather the norm, so it's a bit hard to make out everything. But in any event, while Roscrea does add a massive landmass and lots to, do on that landmass, that isn't exactly everything this mod adds to the game, and this is where the more questionable element of this mod comes in, because part of Roscrea involves a sort of, a time-traveling questline, where you're sent into the future, presumably a future industrial and cyberpunk-style Mournhold, where people have guns, and there's graffiti on the walls, and everything's in techno or rusted decay, and there's just a lot of modern elements everywhere. To be sure, this will turn off, some people to this mod, but then again, it might also attract a few of you, who knows. It can be fun to experience a crazy, just alternate, future timeline of Morrowind on occasion. But either way, this content is actually entirely optional. This mod comes in 2 versions, one with the, cyberpunk dystopian future, and the other one is a more lore-friendly version that just contains the new landmass, quests, and all, the rest here about the whole industrial time-traveling setting. And in any event, as one of the largest and certainly most unique content mods of 2018, Roscrea more than deserves a place on our top 10 list here. Moving on, we have number 7, the Demon of Knowledge, a quest and landmass mod released by Team Sexy Slodes for this year's Morrowind Madness competition on October 31st, 2018. And now, for those of you who have been, watching the channel for a while now, not only will this mod not come as a shock here, but you've probably seen it, about 4 or 5 times already in our previous video footage. We really have showcased it a lot, but for good reason. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Demon of Knowledge, it's basically a quest mod that focuses around that most popular Daedric Lord of Forbidden Knowledge, Hermaeus Mora, adding a new quest line that involves the realms of Apocrypha, cultists, and puzzles for you to solve, and really much more. This was one of the winning entries this year's Morrowind Madness modding competition, our, annual team-based modding competition where modders form teams and have 2 weeks to build each mod. Which, yes, does mean that this mod is built in only 2 weeks' time. An impressive feat for, just how much it contains here. And in any event, this mod starts out by finding a mysterious book in your inventory here, and eventually finding an isolated hermit surrounded by hundreds of volumes of books, who will lead you down the path to rebuilding a cult of Hermaeus Mora here on Vvardenfell, as well as fighting off, hostile cultists who oppose Hermaeus Mora, and building a new town and shrine dedicated to this Daedric Lord. And there's really quite a bit of content here, including several, small bits of the Realms of Apocrypha, a new tile set for this Realm of Oblivion, a new skill, the Inscription skill, which allows you to inscribe spells, and which works just like every other skill in the game, There's also some new and unique shader effects for some of the dungeons that you'll encounter, and just a lot more. This is by far one of the most impressive content mods of 2018, with a really lot to check out here. And all this makes it our number 7 pick for the top 10 Mario mods of 2018. Next up, we have at number 6, Frostwind, a gameplay and a survival mod first released by Milord on May 12th of 2018. And now, this was one of the winning mods of this year's Mario Marathon Month modding competition, winning 2nd place overall out of 89 mods submitted. And since that first release in May, a whole slew of new features have been added, with much more on the way in the future. But let's get down to the basics here. Frostwind is a survival mod based on the popular Frostfall mod for Skyrim, and is essentially a weather and temperature, based camping survival mod at heart, where you'll need to stay warm, build campfires, set up tents, and occasionally, cook meals, to survive the elements out in the wilds between civilization. And unlike other, needs or survival mods out there, this one doesn't, force you to eat or drink anything every few hours. It's entirely focused on the weather and just temperature aspects of, survival. And all the cooking-related crafting included here is really only used for a bonus, just a well-fed enhancement, and help, keep you warm. A number of factors contribute to your temperature rating, such as clothing, armor, the current weather conditions, whether or not you're wet or dry, the region you're in, such as the Bitter Coast region, the West Gash, the SK Niles, and so on, whether you're inside, next to a fire, protected by a tent or a bedroll, and so on and so forth. The higher your exposure rating, the more damage and in particular draining effects you'll experience on your attributes. So you'll need to, manage your exposure and stay warm when, out running around Morrowind, and also, Solstheim. And in addition to all this, this mod also adds a new survival skill, which works, like any of the vanilla skills in the base game, and affects your ability to gather and chop wood, cook meals, and how exposure, affects you. This is one of only 2 mods so far, in addition to the Demon of Knowledge, that adds new skills to the game, though this edition is only available with the MWC version of Frostwind. While this, mod also works with OpenMW, some of the more advanced features are currently MWC only. And in any event, this is by far the most advanced and feature-complete temperature and weather survival mod for Morrowind, with plenty of more advanced features coming in the future, such as a temperature gauge and other visual UI elements, sort of similar to, survival games on Steam like The Long Dark. There's no question that this makes the game more difficult, but it's an amazing immersion and survival mod, and, definitely one that's worth, checking out on if you're into more survival-based gameplay. Regardless, all this makes it our number 6 pick for the best mods of 2018. For number 5, we have Vanilla Land, a texture and graphics mod first released by Artist Geo, Tidy, and Logan on August 15th of 2018. And this is one of a handful of major graphical replacer mods that we have in today's top 10 lineup. And really, this is perhaps one of the most overlooked graphics mods of 2018. For Vanilla Land, despite offering one of the best and most thorough landscape retexture packages in recent years, has largely gone unrecognized in the larger player community out there, at least hopefully until now. But before I get ahead of myself, let's go over what Vanilla Land does. And essentially, it's a texture replacer mod that aims to replace every landscape and rock texture in Morrowind, including those for Solstheim. And, the goal of these replaces is to, provide a high-resolution 2K alternative to the vanilla textures in the game, while maintaining the original vanilla style and feel of Morrowind, which is no easy task to be sure. As the author notes, Bethesda wasn't particularly consistent with how they use landscape textures, often mixing regional textures in just unusual ways. And Vanilla Land takes this into account in a way that other replacer mods out there usually don't, to provide a much more coherent and beautiful set of texture replaces that enhance the style and feel of the game, without really changing too much about how everything looks. In particular, I've noted that this replacer package works extremely well with Terraria built, where other replaces, often run into issues, especially with Terraria built's sometimes questionable UVs for cliff faces. And given the evident quality of this texture replacer package, it really deserves a lot more attention. Though, of course, given the size of the mod here, we can't really provide a proper, showcase of it here. Instead, you'll find a link to our full-length Vanilla Land showcase video down below, where we examine really just about everything included with Vanilla Land in the game. If you want to see more, I'd really just advise you to check that out. But anyway, all this makes it an obvious, though perhaps overlooked, choice for a number 5 slot in the top 10 Morrowind mods 2018. And moving on, we have number 4, Morrowind Vanilla Plus Textures, a graphics mod released by Nico Wilhelm on June 22nd, 2018. And now I know we just did a texture replacer mod like this for, our number 5 slot, and here we are again. But trust me, both mods deserve attention, though for different reasons. Morrowind Vanilla Plus replaces pretty much all the ground and building textures in the game, not just replacing them, but also adding normal mapping to these textures, which is really the main reason why this is our number 4 pick. This is, as far as I know, the largest and most thorough normal mapping replacer mod currently on the market. And for those wanting more just modern textures to take a look at, this is pretty much an absolute must-have. Then, because this is a normal mapping replacer mod, it does require OpenMW, at least for the normal maps to work anyway. You can still use it with Vanilla Morrowind, but you won't get the full effect of the normal maps here. But anyway, this is obviously a pretty large mod, and one that we can't really do a full showcase of in a top 10 video like this. And unfortunately, we never actually got around to doing a full-length showcase, like we did with Vanilla Land. So there's a bit of a lack of actual video footage for this one, but we'll be doing, hopefully, a longer, more detailed look at Vanilla Plus in the future. In the meantime, though, hopefully this small sample video footage will give you, just some idea of how these normal mapped textures look in-game. Now, this isn't really featured here, but it should be noted that Vanilla Plus also includes texture replacers for the armor, weapons, and clothing of Morrowind, making for a truly just massive texture replacer package, and one that's a really must-have if you're using OpenMW. And anyway, all this makes it our number 4 pick for the best mods of 2018. Next up, we have number 3, Koga Expanded and Mimea Awakened, both of which are dungeon and quest mods released by Team Dramaquama and Team Flamboyant Armages, respectively, on October 15th, 2018. And now, yes, this is actually 2 completely different mods, but they have a lot in common. They were both competition mods submitted for the 2018 Morrowind Modding Madness competition by 2 competing teams for the first round of madness. They're both based on the 6th house, and they both overhaul and expand vanilla game locations involved in the Morrowind main quest. Not only that, they're both compatible with one another, and they both came out as the top 2 victors in the first round of the competition. One could almost argue that there must have been some level of just coordination and cooperation between the 2 teams, due to just how similar they are. But in any event, due to this similarity, it makes sense to feature them both together here in the number 3 slot here. And with that out of the way, though, let's go over what these mods do, starting with Koga Expanded. And now this is, quite obviously from the mod name, an expansion of the long-lost 6th house capital, the city of Kogarun. Originally in Vanilla Morrowind, this was really little more than a standard fare Dunmeri stronghold, with next to nothing to differentiate it from all the others, just strongholds out there. And now you'll find the ruins of an actual city surrounding the central stronghold, with numerous buildings in just various states of decay. And another thing to note here, this mod adds a new bell tower to the stronghold here, which rings every 5 to 10 seconds, causing a unique sort of visual disorientation. And as you get closer, it'll actually cause damage, and it won't stop until you've killed the bell ring in the tower, making for a unique just sort of challenge and gameplay element the next time you, play through Kogarun. And this mod also expands upon the main quest a bit, with respect to Kogarun, and also overhauls and expands a lot of the interiors as well, providing a lot more just detailing and some truly disturbing things for you to discover here as you make your way through the dungeons of Kogarun. Without question, this is a must-have mod for 6th house and main quest enthusiasts out there, which is why I wanted to include it in our top 3 slots here. But of course, it shares that spot with Mimea Awakened, which, like Kogarun Expanded, takes a vanilla 6th house location from the main quest and does a complete overhaul, with additional expansions and new chambers to discover. And in this case, the 6th house base that this mod alters is the massive cavern complex of Mimea, located in the West Gash region. And this mod gives Mimea a complete overhaul, and now you'll find, creepily enough, that the caverns are lined with the bones of some great dead creature, with spines thrown along the cavern walls here. You also find dozens of new 6th house furnishings, atmospheric red lighting, new quests, and tons of new items, including new 6th house armor, which you'll find a number of the cultists here wearing. There's also a new expanded Dunmere Stronghold tile set used to add several new chambers to Mimea, including a few puzzles for you to solve, and of course a lot more 6-house foes to face. And again, because this is, compatible with Koga Run Expanded, and they both overhaul to just completely different 6-house locations, this is really just another absolute must-have mod for fans of the 6th house, and it adds a ton of new content to check out, which is really why both of these mods are tied for the number 3 slot of the best mods of 2018. But anyway, moving on, we have number 2, Mage Roams, an items and dungeon mod released by Melco Dog on June 1st of 2018. And this was the winning mod from this year's Morrowind Modathon Month modding competition, coming in 1st place out of 89 submitted mods, and there can be little reason to question why, for Mage Robes is not only one of the most essential mods for players playing through the Mage's Guild questline, but it's also a just impressively beautiful items and dungeon mod, with a new quest, and some truly just atmospheric and breathtaking caverns to explore here, as we'll see more of in a moment. But first, let's go over what this mod does, and to be frank, the primary function of this mod is pretty much in the mod title. It adds some 19 new Mage's Robes, unique to the Mage's Guild, and these new robes come in a variety of fashions, with a different colored robe for each school of magic, such as Restoration, Destruction, Illusion, Enchanting, Alchemy, and more. Not only are there different robes for each of the primary schools of magic, but there's also different robes for higher ranked members of the Mage's Guild, and as you rise in rank, you'll get access to these superior robes. And of course, they're pretty useful too. They each come with a constant effect bonus for that particular school of magic. So, for example, a robe of alteration will boost your alteration skill. And as you'll see in our video footage here, this mod adds the new Mage's Robes to pretty much all the Mage's Guild characters in each branch of the guild. So you'll see plenty of NPCs walking around wearing these robes, and they really do look just fantastic. But of course, this is only the first part of this mod. The other part is a new quest to retrieve the special Mage Robes for the Archmage of the Mage's Guild. And this will send you to an absolutely just amazingly beautiful set of caverns as we try to track down these Archmage Robes. This cavern is without question one of the most beautiful and detailed interiors from any mod released in 2018. The level of detail here is just staggering, and personally I could probably spend all day just gazing around these cavern chambers, with their waterfalls, numerous glowing mushrooms, and atmospheric sun rays. But I think you get the point already. This is just an amazing cavern and an amazing mod that's, certainly more than worthy of your attention. And of course, all this makes it our number 2 pick for the best mods of 2018. And finally, our mod of the year, and the number 1 pick, is the MWC Nightly Build mods of 2018. And as you might guess, this isn't one mod, but rather 6 mods that we've chosen for how much they improve and change the game. Our mods of the year are as following: Glow in the Dark, released by Melkor and Null Cascade on July 23rd of 2018. Muse, Morrowind Music System Extended, released by Right Teller on December 5th of 2018. MWC, Pursuit Revisited, released by SE Engineer 99 on August 23rd of 2018. Poison Crafting, released by Greatness 7 on May 31st of 2018, UI Expansion, released by Null Cascade on October 1st of 2018, and finally, Weapon Sheathing, released by Greatness 7 on October 4th of 2018. And each and every one of these mods is really just a complete game changer for the way they change and enhance the game. And of course, since they're all MWC Nightly Build mods, they will, with the lone exception of Weapon Sheathing, conflict with OpenMW, at least for now anyway. And in any event, all these mods really deserve to be our mod of the year. And just real quick, we're going to, go over what each one does. And first and foremost, we have Glow in the Dark by Melkor and Null Cascade. And, well, to put it simply, this is a modern day replacement of the old Windows Glow mods. Only unlike those older mods, which worked by manually replacing every window in the game with an animated window that would glow in the dark, this one works seamlessly thanks to the MWC magic of Lua, automatically working with pretty much every mod out there, and automatically applying glowing windows that come on in the evening and nighttime hours across the entire game world. And this means that Glow in the Dark works with province mods like Terry Build or Lightania, as well as massive landmass projects like Fablewind or Roscria, and even small mods as well, making for some truly just atmospheric settings with house mods like, the famous Rose Cottage by Korana, or town expansions like Epic Balmora, or just a simple quest for immersion mods. It works with everything, and quite frankly, it looks great with everything. And not only that, but unlike a Windows Glow, it comes with a diverse range of functionality that you can adjust, such as setting windows to start glowing in a staggering order, or to have them all come on all at once. And you can also adjust the evening and dawn hours for when window glowing turns on and off, and also set the staggering time, like for 60 minutes or 120 minutes or just what have you, depending on, how slowly you want window lights to start coming on. There's just a lot of features here, and we haven't even mentioned interior sunrays yet, which this mod adds to pretty much every interior window in the game, which come on automatically during daylight hours, providing just some truly amazing interior atmospheric effects. But anyway, all this makes it one of our 6 mods for the mod of the year for 2018. And moving on, we have Muse, a Morrowind Music System extended by Rytella. Perhaps the least flashy mod on this list, but one that's no less invaluable for just the changes it makes to the game. As the name would imply, this is a music mod, only it doesn't add new music so much as it provides a new way to experience music in Morrowind. Basically, in vanilla Morrowind, there's, just the 2 types of music. The basic exploration music and battle music, and that's really just about it. Of Morrowind's limited soundtrack, this means that things get rather repetitive rather quickly. The one bright side, though, was that one could always expand Morrowind's music as much as one wanted, by simply adding just about any music track to, either the music folders, and the game would just automatically randomly play them. Still, there wasn't much room for a choice here. You either experience all the music in one folder, or the music in the other folder, with no way to really make it so that, only specific music played in dungeons or cities or other locations. This all just changes here with Muse, which makes it possible to not only have unique music play only in dungeons, but which offers a level of customization for in-game music that has simply just never been achieved before. You can now create a playlist for each region of the game, like the Bitter Coast, SK Niles, West Gash, and so on and so forth. You can also create a new playlist for each type of interior, like Thorlu interiors, or Telvanni interiors, or Adorn interiors. You can even specify a new playlist for each type of dungeon, like Doom of Ruins, State of Shrines, Caverns, and so forth. Each time you enter one of these locations or regions, the game will just play the music that you specified for that region or location automatically. A feature the game just didn't have before without heavy manual scripting. There's a lot of potential here for creating unique and atmospheric playlists for each location you visit, so you can better appreciate a greater variety of music in the background. And already there's been a couple of expansion packs for Muse that adds, in some new themed music. And while we can't really show, too much off here in a video, since it is, after all, a music mod, this is an absolute must-have for those using MWC, as the improvements it makes to the atmosphere really just need to be heard. Hence why it's one of our top picks for the mod of the year. Next, we have MWC, Pursuit Revisited by SE Engineer 99, a truly impressive and game-changing mod that, at its core, makes it possible for creatures and NPCs to pursue you through interior and exterior world cells. Those of you familiar with vanilla Morrowind will doubtless remember that in the base game, creatures and NPCs couldn't follow you into or out of interiors, unless you were a companion or a follower. This made it pretty easy to exploit difficult dungeons by just luring an enemy near a door, going outside to heal, and then going back in to try again. Well, obviously, that exploit is really no longer possible with Pursuit Revisited, as enemies will now just follow you outside and most likely lob your head off, should you try that tactic here. This unquestionably makes the game a lot harder, but it finally brings, some of the functionality found in Oblivion and Skyrim to Morrowind. And for those who, enjoy a challenge, it's definitely a great mod to check out just for that. But of course, Pursuit Revisited offers more features than just that. It also makes it possible for guards to appear inside interior cells when you commit a crime. It might take a while, depending on, just how far away the guards are in the exterior world space, but they will show up eventually, so you'll need to just be a bit more stealthy than you were before when there's a price on your head. And of course, because this is an MWC mod, it'll work with pretty much every other mod out there, including the province mods like Downright Build, Stormhome of the Nords, Province Cyrodiil, Northunia, other landmass mods like Fablewind or Stros Mackay, and just any dungeon mod that you might happen to have. SE Engineer 99 even has a few videos on YouTube demonstrating the mod working in Downright Build's Old Ebonheart. And in any event, all this makes it an obvious pick for the mod of the year. And just real quick here, SE Engineer 99 asked me to give kudos to the early build testers and the MWC coders, like Null Cascade, Henchman, Greatness 7, and Mesospore, for making, this mod possible. And anyway, moving on, our next mod of the year selection is Poison Crafting by Greatness 7. And this is, well, yet another mod that adds a feature found in the later Elder Scrolls games, like Oblivion and Skyrim, but sadly lacking in Morrowind, at least until now anyway. In vanilla Morrowind, you could of course, craft poisons already, only they served no actual functional purpose. The only thing you could do with them is drink them yourself, which would be a really silly thing to do, or sell them for some just very meager profits. But now, with poison crafting, you can actually use poisons by applying them to your weapons, giving you bonus attack damage the next time you attack, someone or something. This is rather similar to how poisons already work in games like Oblivion and Skyrim, and really it's about time we got the same functionality here in Morrowind. You'll even note that when you poison a weapon, a little green drop will appear on the UI above your weapon icon to indicate that a poison has been applied. And it should be noted that you won't be the only one out there using poisons. Some NPCs will also apply poisons to their weapons, if, they have the right potion available. And in addition to the poison mechanics, this mod also enhances the functionality of alchemy equipment. So you can now activate and use them in the world space, instead of, having to pick them up and activate them in your inventory, though you can still do that if you want to. There's even a special poison crafting option to allow you to specifically brew, poisons instead of regular alchemical potions, enhancing the negative effects of ingredient combinations and decreasing the more, positive effects. But perhaps one of the most impressive features here is that poison crafting dynamically and automatically applies new potion labels to every potion in the game, including the potion icon and the potion model itself. No longer will you have to check the name of a potion to figure out what it does. Just a quick look at your inventory, or at a potion in the game world, will give you an idea of what it does, with the unique spell icon of its primary effects, like fire damage, fortify fatigue, levitation, or restore health, or just what have you. And this works with every potion in the game, including both the regular potions in the base game and potions you craft in the alchemy menu, as well as any potions that are added by mods, because yes, this mod, like all the other mods in our top number 1 slot here, will work automatically with all the mods except of course OpenMW. There's just a lot to like here for poison crafting. It adds so much functionality to the game, particularly for alchemists, that it's really a must-have, hence why it's yet another of our mods of the year for 2018. But we still have a couple of mods for our mod of the year selection, and our next one is UI expansion by Null Cascade. And as the name would imply here, this mod expands the UI of Morrowind with several extremely useful, and some might even argue, essential features, perhaps foremost among them being the changes made to dialogue. Now, whenever you talk to an NPC, any dialogue topic that you've heard before will be grayed out, indicating that there's nothing new, and any dialogue topic that a particular NPC has a unique response to will be highlighted in blue. So right away, you'll know which of Morrowind's seemingly thousands of dialogue topics are ones that you've already heard before, and which ones are unique to that NPC, or just at a glance here, instead of having to click through on every dialogue topic every time. This is another one of those features that made it into the later Elder Scrolls games like Oblivion and Skyrim, but was missing in vanilla Morrowind, and this is the first time this most simple yet incredibly convenient feature has even been possible with Morrowind. And as you might imagine, that one expansion to the UI has made this mod incredibly popular, but that's not all it does. It also makes it easier to sort through magical spells by adding a spell icon so you can use to automatically filter your spell menu to a particular school of magic, like, Restoration. Likewise, new categories of items have been added to your inventory menu, so you can more easily find certain types of items in a crowded inventory screen. And speaking of, new search bars have been added to the inventory, spell menu, and also container menus, so you can search for any item or spell by name, or even just by typing in a letter to automatically filter your inventory or spell menu or the loot in a container. Like for example, you could type the letter W to bring up water walking, which is really quite convenient, and you can also use this filter to take only filtered items from a container. There's also several other features included in UI expansion, such as expanded information on attributes, adding your faction reputation with each faction to your attributes and skills menu, and just a lot of other stuff, but I think you get the gist here. There's just a lot of really convenient slice-of-life improvements and features here, with more on the way in the future, all of which makes it an obvious pick for one of our mods of the year. And finally, the last of our top number 1 picks here is Weapon Sheathing by Greatness 7. And this will come as really no surprise to anyone who has been paying attention to the community. Weapon Sheathing is easily one of the most popular mods of 2018, earning hundreds of endorsements and thousands of downloads in just a few short months, which for the Morrowind modding community is really just an impressive feat. But anyway, weapon sheathing does pretty much what the title suggests. It adds weapon sheaths to pretty much all the vanilla weapons in the base game, which are equipped automatically whenever you equip a weapon. And in addition, weapons that don't have weapon sheaths, like say spears, warhammers, or just what have you, will still appear on your character, usually on your character's back, or, you know, at your hip. And while this might sound like a rather minor thing, especially, you know, for those of you coming from the later Elder Scrolls games like Oblivion or Skyrim, this is a pretty big deal for Morrowind, since the game had no visible weapons on characters when it launched. Instead, every character in the game would just pull their weapons out of thin air when combat started, which isn't exactly the most immersive detail. Now you can clearly see what weapons everyone has, because they'll always be visible on the person, with a sword at the hilt, or a bow and quiver on the backs, or a war axe swinging from the hip. And in addition, weapon sheathing comes with an extremely robust and feature-complete set of options that you can adjust as you want right through the in-game mod config menu. You can turn on shields so that people will wear them on the backs. You can turn on or off weapon sheathing, and you can even adjust which mods, characters, and weapons use weapon sheathing. Because of course, as the MWC mod, weapon sheathing will work with just about every other mod out there. But if there's a mod that doesn't work well with weapon sheathing, or if there's a particular character or weapon that you don't want to use weapon sheathing for just whatever reason, you can turn off weapon sheathing for just that one mod or weapon or character, making it possible to really fine-tune your experience and, you know, make sure everything works the way you want it to. There's also a new weapon drawing animation, so characters will draw two-handed weapons from their backs, and quite a bit more. But I'm sure you'll agree that this is a mod that's more than worthy of being on Mod of the Year for 2018. And indeed, all these mods are worthy of your attention, and I would really highly recommend checking them out. But of course, we're not quite done yet. We still have our, honorable mentions, which, while they didn't get ranked in the top 10, are still worthy of your consideration. And our first honorable mention is Enhanced Water Shader for MGE-XE, a graphics mod released by Crocantor on January 20th of 2018. And there were quite a few notable shader mods that came out in 2018, but I've selected this one to specifically honor because it is, quite frankly, an absolutely beautiful water shader and, without question, really the best water shader for the seas, rivers, and lakes of Morrowind. And it should be noted that this shader package comes in 3 variations. The blue-green shader option that we can see here, which is my personal favorite and which I use in almost every Morrowind install. But there's also a more, a traditional blue shader, and a regular green shader, so you have a few choices here for how you want the seas of Morrowind to look. Really, they all look great, and really give the waterways of Morrowind an almost magical yet realistic look, including a little bit of foam there along the shorelines where waves lap up against land, and of course some underwater effects as well. And I would personally rank this as one of the best graphics mods of 2018, and I would highly recommend checking it out, though it should be noted that this will conflict with OpenMW, since it requires MGE-XE to work. In any event, in any normal year, this would have gotten a regular spot in our top 10 list, but in such a crowded year, the best we can do here is an honorable mention, and there can be little doubt that it deserves to be mentioned here. And our second honorable mention is the Battle Rite of Mephala, a landmass and quest mod released by Team Nordic Chefs for this year's Morrowind Madness competition on October 31st of 2018. And much like some of the other mods that we've already looked at in this video, the Battle Rite of Mephala is a competition mod, submitted by Team Nordic Chefs for the second round of the Morrowind Madness competition. Sadly, it didn't do quite as well as it deserved, and the team managed to barely squeak out a 3rd place ranking. However, this wasn't from a lack of quality mods, and indeed, I would also highly recommend checking out their other mod, the Reclamation of Hasaminas Mine, which, with the Battle Rite of Mephala, provides 2 very unique and one-of-a-kind experiences. But in the end, I've chosen the Battle Rite of Mephala for a special honorable mention because, perhaps more so than the team's other mod, it provides an innovative and groundbreaking experience that has, to my knowledge, simply never been attempted in a mod before. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. First, let's go ahead and go over what, the Battle Rite of Mephala is. And basically, this mod adds a new quest where you get kidnapped by cultists of the Daedric Prince Mephala, and dragged to some forsaken island where a game is being played, a dangerous game of life and death. You and 19 other poor souls have been brought here to fight to the death, and you can only use what equipment, like weapons, armor, and potions that you can find on the island. This is truly a one-of-a-kind experience for a Morrowind mod. You'll need to find whatever you can just get a hold of, like a pitchfork or a broken bottle, and hunt down the other 19 contestants on this ever fog-ridden Isle of Death. And while you're doing that, the other contestants will be hunting down each other, and also you. So right away, a number of these NPCs will be dead from their own battles, and NPC placement is completely random. You'll never have the exact same experience twice. In a sense, this is basically the single-player version of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is really why I wanted to include it here, because no other mod has really ever, attempted to do this before. Not to mention, there's a ton of unique locations for you to find on the island, numerous treasures, and hidden death traps. All this makes it a pretty fun mod to check out, and a worthy honorable mention for our top 10 list here. And finally, our last honorable mention is Creature VFX Restoration, a graphics and immersion mod released by Rot on December 2nd, 2018. And now this was kind of an unexpected mod that has quickly become popular in a relatively short period of time. And basically it sets out to restore the original particle effects for creatures that, for whatever reason, were cut out of the vanilla game. Most likely, Bethesda cut out a lot of these particle effects for performance and hardware reasons, as surprising as that might sound now in 2018. But when Morrowind first released, it was considered to be, a graphical powerhouse. It won numerous awards for best graphics in 2002. But combined with a large open world, it pushed most computers to their very limits, and as many can attest to, had more than a few issues on the Xbox. And whatever the cause, these particle effects for creatures just never made it into the final release game, and include such basic things as the spitting effects for Quama Foragers, the death effects for Ancestor Ghosts and Remora, the steam effects for Doom of Centurions, and a lot of other creatures. And this mod restores pretty much all of them, and as a completely vanilla-friendly mod that simply restores some of the original intended functionality of the game, it appeals really to just about everyone. And while it's a minor thing, it really helps to just enhance the feel of the game, which makes it our third and final honorable mention of 2018. And now we've skipped a lot of mods that also deserve a mention. 2018 had a ton of new massive content mod releases, from Morrowind Content Restored and Morrowind Uncut, to quest and adventure mods like the Sanguine Rose, Ministry of Clarity, Telfalisa, and Namas mods like Stress McCoy. And all these, plus, dozens of others, are really worthy of being mentioned here, but which we simply just can't cover here. Luckily, you can vote for your own favorite mods of 2018 today as part of the Morrowind Community Choice Awards, a link to which you can find down below. But anyway, 2018 was just an amazing year for the Morrowind community, and I hope you'll, check out some of these mods on the list here. They're all, worthy of attention. And again, down the links and compatibility information can be found down below. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.